is this type of interventions that are taking place, are they exclusively group-based support, or can there be funding applied for to support an individual child's needs?
Okay, so it's both is the straightforward answer. So
okay.
the funding is, it's probably, if I explain how the funding is allocated, that might help answer the question. So the funding is allocated from the local authority. So in total, across all of the 5 clusters, there's £850,000 delegated or devolved to schools.
Okay.
So that's split not equally by 5, because as I said, they are different sizes, the clusters, but that's split across the schools. And in terms of the school, each cluster has a board, a cluster board, which is made up of local authority representation, head teacher representation, SENCOs, and an EP. And sorry, educational psychologist. I'm sure all your parents know what an EP is, but just in case. And they have a board which meets termly, and they are ultimately responsible for how the funding is allocated. So what each of the clusters have done is they've looked at the needs that they have in the cluster, and then they've commissioned services or teams. And they've also commissioned training and resources. So it's really quite open. It's saying, right, these are our children in our area. What is it that we need in order to deliver on those 3 outcomes? So, for example, we've set up some alternative provision to try and support children that have behavioural needs or behaviour that challenges the school. We've set up early college placements for some secondary school children that we know just would be better with a vocational course in year 11. So that's an individual example. We've set up mentoring in some of the clusters. We've accessed speech and language therapy, occupational therapy. What else have we? Parenting support. We've got access to ELSA trained practitioners or Thrive, so those kind of 2 groups supporting parents and families and children in school around their emotional needs. So it's quite a range of provision, and it can be accessed individually. Also, there's quite a lot of group work. So last year we did a lot of work with year 1 children with something called Talk Boost that the speech and language therapist delivered, and that was a language program for children in year 1, and that was group based. So that's a long answer to your question, which is yes, it can be individual or group. It depends what the needs of the child are, and the group that I think are really, really important in all of this. I mean, head teachers are always important, but who's really important is the lead SENCOs. And so each cluster has at least one lead SENCO for primary and a lead SENCO for secondary. And they're being given some release time to work with the cluster. And they set up SENCO groups within their locality, within their cluster, which offers advice, support, access to training, access to resources. So we've kind of handed the power to the heads, but also the SENCOs to really look at what an area might need. And it does vary. Sometimes clusters have access to different support because they've done things slightly differently because the needs are different in an area.
Wow, so quite a range. That's brilliant, because our children are also unique and different, and although their needs might be similar, there are occasions when individual needs need to be met. So it's really brilliant that that's taken into consideration.